Okay, welcome to this world changing call where we'll be discussing UX research and AI. Johns and I on this call, we're going to be presenting it. It is UX research call number 37. It is the 18th of April, 2024. And we're very excited about the potential for AI to speed up the research process for projects and to assist projects and to spend less time on research. And that's why we're having this call, just to share very practically what we've been doing. I'll share my screen very quickly. We both put together a bit of a presentation over here. So in this call, the structure of this call is basically going to be very much show and tell. So John's is going to show and tell some very practical things and ways that he's used AI, and then I'm going to do the same. And then if anyone has any questions, but since there's no one on the call at the moment, we don't think that there will be any questions. But if
We'll
you
make up.
have questions,
We'll use AI to generate the questions for us. How about that?
but if you watch this on YouTube and if you want to leave some questions, you can do that too. So
Down below, comment down below and subscribe. We're doing that whole
subscribe to our
thing,
YouTube channel and comment. Okay,
and
I
that's
don't.
it.
Okay,
Bitcoin
let's go,
design.
Johns. I'll hand it over to you.
All right. Well, we did discuss that there's some somewhat sensitive information that are for this client that I'm working on right now. So didn't get a chance to get the sign off from them. So my show and tell is going to be verbal, right? All right. So just onboarded this client for a design sprint. And if you're a designer, you might be aware of the design sprint process. It's a time-bound event workshop where you basically get yourself, the client, or the stakeholders on the project to reach alignment on what problem it is you're trying to solve, as well as doing some user journeys and sketching of a storyboard. After usually this takes like 3 days of workshop with the stakeholder, then you move on to a prototyping phase, and then there's a user testing phase. Now, typically with these design sprints, you're doing a bit of work up front to prepare. You don't necessarily have to, but people have limited amount of time. So to have the most amount of impact, you kind of want to have some kind of context going into the project. Um, and what kind of context are you looking at? You're looking at basically, okay, what is the project itself to begin with? All right, what are they about? What problem is it that they're trying to solve, and what challenges they're already being faced with if they have an existing product in place? So, I guess for this, most of what we're going to be talking about today is going to be relating to projects which are not starting up from zero, from scratch. We're talking about stuff that already might be a project that's already in development, in the development stage. Maybe people are already requesting bugs and features and reporting bugs, etc. All right. So with that as the context, in the design sprint, you're now thinking like, okay, I want to make it as efficient as possible. I need to do some discovery ahead of time. For open source projects, you have a few data sources, one of them being GitHub, right? That's where most of the team and the development work is getting done. There's a feature called issues that GitHub projects would typically have. These are open issues, tasks, feature requests, as I mentioned, bugs, and maybe a bit of customer support for. And this is typically, yeah. So first, it's going to be for the team to manage those feature requests and the known bugs that they know. But they also use open source projects also use this for community reporting of bugs and requesting for features, right?
Yeah.
So because of this second part, it's a potential for data source on like what kind of challenges the users may be having as well. So you may want to think about separating those kinds of issues aside. And typically, what they would use are labels on the issue. I'll see if I can show what that looks like.
Yeah.
I'll use the Bitcoin design one actually.
And what I also want to just touch on when you speak about data sources. So I wrote a blog post about it recently, and in that blog post I wrote that data is everywhere. So in the Bitcoin space, at least with Bitcoin open source, Lightning, and Bitcoin wallets, I've noticed that there are three places where users are sharing or complaining or telling you what they want. They tend to do that on Reddit. Sometimes you find a super long Reddit thread about a wallet, and then people will just be saying, I wish there was this, or I didn't like that, or I didn't like that. The other thing is they often have Telegram groups, and you can export those Telegram chats, which we'll be showing an example of. And the third is what John's mentioned, so they file issues on the GitHub itself. But yeah, please continue, John's.
No, that's a great summary. That's a great summary there. The thing about GitHub though, it's like it's great structurally
Mhm.
because typically you would have a title, and let me just share my screen so people see this. Chrome tab. Okay, there we go. All right. So this is the Bitcoin Design Guide. The Bitcoin Design Guide is an online resource for understanding how to design Bitcoin applications,
Yeah.
right? Bitcoin products. It's written by a community of writers, designers, some devs also contribute to this, and it's all open source in GitHub, right? So we'll see if we go in there, we see some people are using it for, like some of the core members, like GBKS is using it to keep track of some tasks that he have, revise UI mockups for setting up human readable names. So most of these ones that we see here are related to what you call it, to the internal working of the project, and you're probably going to be getting a lot of that, right? But let's look at another one called BTC Pay Server, right? Let's look at one called BTC Pay Server, and we're probably gonna get some requests for bugs. Okay, there we go. Someone filed a bug. Bolt card payment fails. Could not fetch this invoice, etc., etc. And I think this one is more diverse in the kind of like user base that customers or whatever you want to call it, community members that are like filing bugs. So it's not just coming from the maintenance team.
Yeah.
What we also saw, and this is quite good for in the Bitcoin design community, and most projects you'll see like this as well, they'll have these tags, right? The tags is either like documentation, this is needing design, this is a copy change, etc., etc. So this allows you to have more context for the what do you call it, for the
Issue.
for the issue,
Yeah.
which when you feed it in to like something like ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever you're using, it can have a bit more context of like what that is. You might also want to state who the owner or the maintainers are, like the people who are actually doing the work, and separate them in the conversation from the external people who are making the requests,
That's a
right?
very good point you make, Johns, because I remember when I was collecting the issues from Phoenix Wallet, the developers on the wallet were commenting. So you have to only capture the issue that was filed by the user.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's good to have this perspective. Like if a user, and I use customer in here, but anyway, because sometimes I don't like saying user.
Me too. Me too.
um,
Yeah.
but brain not braining, and restart, control alt delete. Okay, restart. So why it's important, because the development team often has a kind of like some rationale, some reason why they make certain decisions, right? In their head, they're not just reacting to any filing of issues on their on their repository, right? They have a roadmap already. It's meticulously thought out. They have a vision for where and what the open source projects should do, right? So having their context when they are posting a response is important, because someone might say, hey, so BTC Pay Server, for example, or BTC Pay Server, why don't you guys support BitPay? Right? And we're like, well, ideologically we don't want to do that because da, 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 for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
And that's just an example, please. So that is like good context to have in the response, right? So because you like, when you're preparing, you don't want to just be like, oh, so yeah, I ran it through ChatGPT and it says that in the summary it says that you should be like a bunch of people are requesting BitPay, right? It's like, well, ideologically, no, we don't want to do this for X, Y, and Z reason, you know. So that's also important. You cannot, I don't think you can like fully depend on these tools. I'm gonna state it now. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and especially because you are like, for this analysis, because you are able to generate so much information for free and cheap, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, or for $20 a month as a Chat GPT Plus subscription, right? You can generate all bunch of information. You need to make sense of what makes sense effectively. Right? Any feedback on that, Mo, or questions?
Sorry, someone's actually just messaging me because they want to join the call.
Mhm.
Okay. No, with regards to what you said, sorry, I'm also just squiggling, just scrambling back in my brain as well. Yes, about ChatGPT and trusting the data and the output that it gives you. So I've been playing around with ChatGPT 3. I had ChatGPT 3 and then I upgraded to ChatGPT 4 because I said maybe it has some potential for, being possibly a little bit more detailed in its feedback that it gives. I noticed there is quite a big difference towards the output in ChatGPT 3 and ChatGPT 4. So the paid version for me works nicely because it gives me a little bit more specific. It is true AI does hallucinate. As John said. So AI definitely will hallucinate in terms of giving you feedback. So yeah, that I'm just chiming in on what you said, John. It cannot fully be trusted. Whatever you put into it. I've also noticed a few times that it will reword something in a way that it doesn't even make sense logically. It's just too computer generated. So
Okay.
that is something to be careful about. You have to read through everything and see if it actually makes sense.
Yeah, and one of the other things that, like with the data source kind of thing within ChatGPT and most of these LLMs, what you're going to do, you're going to be copying stuff, throwing it in, maybe referencing some files and stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily, and it might have context that it adds out of nowhere, as Mo said.
Yeah.
um, it doesn't yet it doesn't quite give you the source of the response, right? And that's something that, like a RAG system, RAG, don't ask me to explain what the acronym is.
Oh my
But
goodness. Johns, I'll be right back. I see that I included a different link in the meeting. I included Bitcoin design. I'll be right back. Okay. Just
okay, no problem, no problem. All right. So in the meantime, um, yes. So let's see. Where are we now? Where are we now? We are talking about, yeah, RAG systems. Actually, let me have a look at that. RAG. Um, it's called Retrieval Augmented Generation. And what is interesting about this is that, you put in like a bunch of files, PDFs, text document, JSON exports, databases, et cetera. And with a RAG system, what it does, it gives you the response, but it also gives you like the relevant files that it read from, right, to generate that response, right? So that's a pretty good thing to have. And we'll wait for more.
I made a major mistake with when I put the issue on GitHub. I actually used the Bitcoin Design Jitsi. I
Uh,
just jumped in there, and Dami was there, and also Shashikant was there as well. So
should we move over? Oh, we'll stay in
no,
this
we
one.
can stay here, but oh man,
No
okay.
worries, no worries. All
We're
good.
good. But at least I brought over two people, which were actually already on the other link. But
Right.
yeah, so Dami's here as well. Dami, I'm so sorry for that. I included the wrong link in the GitHub issue, but thank you for staying on the call and hanging in there.
You're all right. All right.
All right, welcome.
Thank you.
And in the chat, or you can unmute yourself, and it would be great to know how many of you guys are actively using these AI tools in your design work.
Yeah. Have you tried using any AI tools, Dami and Shashikant?
Hello everyone, I'm audible.
Yes, I have. I use ChatGPT when trying to come up with research plan, just to brainstorm, since I work freelance sometimes. So just to have something to ask questions and bounce off ideas off. I use that. And also when taking notes during user interviews, I use an AI tool to record and transcribe for me. Yeah, so I
Okay.
think that's so far what I've used AI for research.
So you'll use the AI tool to auto record the meeting and automatically make transcripts.
Yes, 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 yes,
Perfect.
yes.
Perfect. Shall I just jump into this joint Figma file that we created as well, John?
Okay. Sure. Yeah,
I can
we can
share
put
my
that on the
screen here. Let's see here. So this
So
is
I'm also going to add something in here, which the other data source you mentioned, which was Reddit.
yeah, Reddit is a good one. Yeah, exactly. So this is just a little bit of a high level overview which Johns and I created together. Um, so I'm just going to take you through it. So this is this is specifically referring to open source Bitcoin and Lightning wallets. And when we say data sources, we mean that basically the people who use the applications, who use the wallets, they're basically sharing information or issues that they have with the wallet in these three places. So for Bitcoin wallets, people are posting issues on GitHub. They're posting issues in the Telegram group. They're asking questions. So when a person asks a question about something, it could mean that there's something in the user interface that they don't understand, and that's an indication that the design could be improved or something could be improved within the onboarding or in the whole process, the user flow. And then also people tend to have some quite long conversations. Like if you hop over to Reddit, you can even just type in like Reddit and then wallet name, Bitcoin wallet or Lightning wallet, and then you'll find a whole thread about people posting about their experiences with wallet. So these are very different data sources. And then, yeah, John's posted over here the GitHub issues as well. So these are sources of data. Johns, do you want to go into the issues bit? What you mentioned about the issues, because that's quite important. Because if you if you're pulling in GitHub issues as a data source, what I noticed amongst the Bitcoin and Lightning wallets is sometimes the developers actually create issues themselves on things that they notice users are issues that they notice users are experiencing. So it's good to see, who are the maintainers of the project and to try to not include issues that they filed. Personally, I'll be really honest, it is a very time consuming process. So I'll show you a very practical example that I did. So quite recently, and I'll show you another example that Christoph did as well. So I went over to Phoenix Wallet. So I pretty much visited the Phoenix Wallet GitHub, and I'm going to share this screen over here. So just a moment. I'm going to share. So what I did, practically speaking, is I went over to Phoenix Wallet GitHub. and I copied and pasted all 78 of their live issues, and I converted that into a Google document, and then I exported it as a PDF. And then I chatted with the PDF to try to understand, what were the issues. So here it is. I processed the data, chatted. Something that I did that's a little nuance is I actually numbered the issues. So when I copied and pasted it, I numbered every issue. So I called it like issue 1, issue 2. I renumbered the issue, so it wasn't directly related to the issue on the GitHub. And then I started chatting with the issues. And then I will just show you an example. I'm going to go to ChatGTP 4 now. And I'm going to show very practically how I chatted with the issues. So here it is here. It's just loading. I'm just going to, 1 second. I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, it's very slow at the moment. It's pulling up my ChatGTP 4 history. Yeah, but I'll continue with that. So basically I'll feed the PDF in to ChatGTP 4, and then I'll start with here it is. I'll start with one very high level question. So here it is, Phoenix Wallet. Okay, so here it is. I'm going to share this tab over here. So I'm going to share my ChatGTP. So here it is. So Phoenix Wallet. So you'll see here, I'm going to scroll all the way to the top. So here I basically copied and pasted it in. You'll see here. Okay, so I put the PDF in and I say bucket this data for me. So I'm just asking it to create bigger buckets of the information that I just fed it. So what it did here, it starts to create buckets. It tells me that there's network and transaction issues. It tells me that there's issues with the user experience and interface. It tells me that there's some feature and improvement issues. And then it's telling me, and that's where the labeling is important. I labeled each issue. So I'm actually making sure that ChatGTP is using all of the issues that I fed it and not ignoring some of the issues, which I think is a risk with feeding it into ChatGTP. So then I say provide a quantitative analysis of the above. And then it's telling me that there are 5 network and transaction issues, 11 user experience and interface issues, and 52 issues regarding to features and improvements. So it's telling me that there were 68 categorized issues. And then it's telling me, this is important, that there is a discrepancy. So now I have to tell it again, provide me quantitative analysis based on 73 issues, because it's skipping and it's ignoring issues. And then it's telling me here, 5 issues were not possible to categorize them. So ChatGTP 4 decided to exclude 5 of the issues. And then you can basically go into it and you can continue chatting with it. And I then dove into the category which I saw as being the biggest category, because there were 52 issues on features and improvements. I then decided to ask ChatGTP, in the category of features and improvements, what is the friction point experienced the most by users? And then it's going to actually dive into those and provide details about that. So it can be very granular, but at the same time, I think if I were to improve this process one level more, it would refer to the actual issue number on the GitHub repository, because then I can go back and I can actually verify that this is true. Right now, it's using the issue numbers that I assigned to it. So I cannot go back and verify. So yeah, that's just a practical example of how you can use it. John, is there anything you want to share as well?
Well, I actually have some questions for you here.
Yeah.
All right. So, could you pull it back?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So Dami's asking, does this mean we can load up? 1 second.
Session notes,
interviews, and then use it to analyze notes based on themes? Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. So okay, let's go back to Phoenix. Here's Phoenix. Okay. Yeah. Go for it, Jones.
Okay, so you have kind of like these groupings there. Okay, so one thing that came to mind here
Mm-hmm.
was we have two sources of what now is. Now can be what's on the website, what's in the documentation, and what's in pull requests,
Mm-hmm.
right? So those things kind of impact what you call it. Those things impact this analysis that you might be doing as well. Now, especially if you're new to a project, right, and just onboarding into it, I think it's like quite important to understand, to start from the now, right? And
Mm-hmm.
right, for you it'll be quite easy, right? You're using the application, so you know where it is. The thing about like these tools, you're having to do a lot of brain dump into them to give it this context,
Right.
right? So ideally you are giving it context of, and I have done this in this recent client project that I've been doing. I'm taking the content from the landing page, I'm taking the content from the documentation, I'm throwing it in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
As well as the issues and PRs to see how they kind of like how they, what you call it, how they match up, right? Because yeah, something might end up. I really like what you did about like categorizing them as like feature requests and whatnot. I'm not sure how exactly the Phoenix repository is set up to know those things, for ChatGPT to know these things.
Yeah.
Um, but that's a pretty critical one. And then if you were to feed pull requests into it, which is another type of issue on GitHub,
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
then you would really get to know like what the current state of now is.
Yeah, I like that. You can actually, so to get the current state of now of a project, let's just use Phoenix Wallet as an example. We would take the issues that users filed, and then we would also take the live PRs.
Yeah, and
Would you
compare them.
feed those two sets of data together in one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
it also matters like the version number as well. This also comes in because like in GitHub repositories and stuff like that, they do have I'm gonna go open up BTC Pay Server as well again.
Yeah.
So let me just share this. So BTC Pay Server, by the way, there's a documentary coming out of BTC Pay Server. I got like a quick sneak peek look at it. It is absolutely amazing.
Amazing.
So
Okay.
it's going to be premiered this weekend at the Bitcoin Film Festival in Warsaw. But yeah, so yeah, okay. So we go. Actually, no, there. So in GitHub, projects will have these tags with the different version numbers, and this could be another good source of like what's been recently updated, right? Because having this information, you would actually see like what it's called a change log, by the way, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
so these
Mm-hmm.
tags are used to log the different changes from version to version in a repository. So that might also be an area to look at. So not all projects will have it, but like the larger, more established ones, they should. They have the new features, improvements, bug fixes, etc. Now, part of like this does add complications on like where this, like what data sources do I use and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But understanding where the software team is now is critical to get buy-in, right? Because if you're coming in and saying like, oh hey, like I'm like I didn't test your application at all, I'm like I didn't do my own user testing, which I think it's absolutely important for you to do your own user testing
Yeah.
for the entire flow before you even start using these tools, because otherwise you're just going to start relying on them and in your decision making process, and you don't know if it's actually true. You need to be able to verify that yourself. So I would say do the user testing yourself first,
Mm-hmm.
then do the analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you're gonna need to have that buy-in with the team to be able to say like, "Hey, I know you just rolled," because it gives you like such a superpower as well when you're saying it's like, "Oh, I know you just rolled out this feature. I know you just did this. I know you just did that." I know your users have been having this problem from like a year ago,
Yeah.
but here's what I'm thinking. And I think that's also part of the design process, especially in open source, where the teams might be very technical. You might not think they care about design as much, to
Mm-hmm.
be able to convince them that, hey, I've been like I've done my homework.
Exactly, exactly. Because, and that's something, it's a very good point that John touches on. I just want to share that again. So what John said is, you do your own, if you're really going to get very much into one specific project, let's take Bitcoin X wallet. You're going to first do your own user testing. So you're going to test out the wallet yourself, see how you experience it. You're going to make some notes. Then another thing that you can do is then you would collect all of the user issues, and then you can also collect all of the PRs, and then you can also collect all of the what is it, John? You refer to this live
The
the
tags, the change
change
logs.
logs, the change logs. So things that they've actually pushed live, new features. And if you have your user testing that you did, and then if you have the issues, if you have the change logs, and if you have the PRs, you basically have like a whole wealth of like on the ground information about the project, where it currently is. And then you'll have a clear idea of what could be worked on in the future, or how you could how you could help them. Because if you would reach out to a project, and if you're collecting data on a project, and then you reach out, it's very specific, the way that you're reaching out, because you know what they're working on, you know what they've just pushed live, and you've also already tested it yourself. So yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like with these tags, another oh, so we have some questions here, or
Yeah,
have
there's some
you
questions.
have any of you tried to prioritize the issues as GPT does with just the basis on frequency, not how critical the issue is? I recently trying to do that, but the results were not good. Any other tools? Prioritizing the issue with chat. So today, for example, I started using. I tried to make like this custom GPT where it's like going to be my task manager. I've been trying to do this for like forever. I would just want to say like this is a thing that I have to do, because it's like appended to my ever long list of growing tasks, and then like help me prioritize. I'll give you some feedback on that when I have more information. So far, not working so good, but potentially. Mo, have you been trying this out?
No, I haven't. I haven't done that. So I'm just reading it again. Has anyone tried to prioritize the issues as ChatGPT to do that on the basis of frequency and not how critical the issue is? I recently was trying to do that, but the results were not good. Yeah, no, I haven't done that. No, I
Yeah,
haven't asked it to prioritize.
I mean that isn't necessarily a yeah. So critical becomes subjective here, right?
Yeah, and I, and
Right.
I mean, I can go into that. If you bucket the issues and ChatGPT puts them into 4 or 5 larger buckets, there will be one bucket that will, have more issues than if there's going to be one very big bucket. So you could then say that biggest bucket would be the area that the team could, if they prioritize that the most, they'll make the most people happy, right? By fixing that biggest bucket. Um, so, and that's something that I also find very interesting is, how are the teams prioritizing design based on the issues that actual users are filing in their GitHubs. Um,
I think someone like that BitPay example or something, to be able to log in with BitPay and BTC. I don't know. Maybe they want to do it. Maybe they don't. But let's say the team doesn't want anything to do with BitPay,
yeah,
right? Or like for adding a feature. Let's make it a bit more abstract. Um, uh, Many people in the community could be asking for that feature, right? But it may not necessarily mean that it is like something very important,
yeah, exactly.
right? This is where, when you start writing this prompt, like how I typically do it is like I have some data that I'm going to feed it in, whether by copy and pasting or dropping a file. But like before that, I'm saying like, so the Phoenix wallet is this thing, and what I know about it is da 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 da. So I'm giving it a whole bunch of different about context and philosophy and stuff like that, right? Because why you need to give this context, like for example, if you're trying to design a Bitcoin wallet, now ChatGPT by default is going to suggest something that's centralized, that's that's not that's custodial, right? Because the context for most software being developed in the world is like there's a client server relationship, right? So by default, we can expect that, if you ask it something, it's probably going to give you, hinting towards this custodial route. What you can start doing is saying like, you do your little write-up before you pass in the data, or you could ask it questions as like, do you know what non-custodial means? Then it puts that into the chat. Do you know what self-sovereign means, etc.? Do you know what privacy by design means, etc.? Right? Do you know what local first means? Like some of these like generic terms, and it's now building up these definitions, and that is actually going to be used in the further chats that you end up doing, right? Now it has this context loaded into the chat context, right, into the chat logs. So then when you put in your like Phoenix wallet is this, and this is the design philosophy, or BTC Pay server is this, and they existed because one of the maintainers, Nicolas Dorier, wanted to obsolete BitPay and here's the data. So now when it starts to, like maybe a bunch of people ask for BitPay integration of some sort, it has that context. So this is no longer important. I know this is not important because how it started up is like against this thing.
Yeah. And I want to share another use case that just came up now. So at the moment, I'm working on the Bitcoin Core app case study. So, one of the things that's always with case studies is right at the end, you write a bit of a conclusion. So, this is research that was done months ago. So I was like, I don't remember what is the main conclusion or the main recommendations. So what I did, and I'll share this here as well, is I copied and pasted the whole, the whole case study. I copied and pasted it into ChatGPT, and then I said, please provide the details or key points from the research report. Oh no, that's ChatGPT talking to me, but I'm saying to ChatGPT, I'm going to give you a research report. Create a final summary of the report. This would be the closing paragraph in the report. So I feed in the report into ChatGPT, and then it will pop me out a summary. So you can also use it to create a summary. But what I do is I will never ever use the copy here verbatim, because quite often it sounds too computer generated. I will always sort of read through it and then I will reword it in my own voice. But I will use this to get this sort of like very granular starting point of, okay, like if I write a summary, it's going to include this, this, and this. So this is a way that you can use it to also in writing research reports. You can use it, feed the report in, and ask it to provide a summary for you. It's like, I think this is very easy for ChatGPT to do as well.
Yeah. Also, Mo, have you set custom instructions for like where you could put in tone of voice and how it should respond? Have you set this up?
No, I haven't tried that actually. No.
So you click on your avatar under the bottom right.
Okay.
Custom instructions.
Okay.
And then you could tell it a bit about yourself, your role, etc., etc. You could also tell it how to respond and what kind of language. You could give it some samples of your voice. Do some kind of like you could, if you have a blog post or as you have a newsletter, you could throw in some of the posts of your newsletter. You'll say, analyze this writing.
Right.
Right. Analyze my writing and come up with like a prompt.
So is this the one that you're referring to, John?
Yeah, exactly. So you write something about yourself. I work in open source. I work on the Bitcoin design community.
Yeah.
etc. etc. And then how would you like ChatGPT to respond? You could set the writing. You put in separately in a separate prompt.
Mm-hmm.
You're giving it like some samples of your writing,
Yeah.
and then you're kind of trying to make a analysis of like the tone, the type of
Mm,
words that you use, etc., etc. So it will be able to sound a little bit more like you.
got you. That's a good one. Good one. Good one. Yeah.
Synthetic more.
Synthetic me. Yeah. And then should we also share these ones like tools? Tooling is also because I remember when I started out, I didn't want to pay straight away for ChatGTP 4. In terms of tools, you have a free tool that's called Chat PDF. I'm actually going to share the link to this Figma file in the chat as well, so that you can click on the links within. But you have Chat PDF, which is a free tool that allows you to chat with any PDF. It is based on ChatGTP 3 though, so it's not as accurate. And then you have Gemini as well. Do you want to share more about Gemini, Johns? I'm not familiar with Gemini.
Yeah, so for a free option, this is really great because it's connected to the internet,
Okay.
and some of the data sources are very live, right? So it'll take it's from Gemini is from Google,
Okay.
right? So yeah, it's going to yeah, the power of Google search behind it, right? Which is quite powerful, and it's quite fast. And I've been using it a lot recently, and it's been quite good. I like the tone of it as well, how it gives the response. So that's maybe one to try out.
Yeah. And then, for use cases as well, Johns, we've added a few more use cases. We've spoken about using it for summaries as well, which we mentioned here. But, Christoph also did Blue Wallet as well. So what he did was he went into the Telegram chat of Blue Wallet. I'm going to just go ahead and share this tab here. So he went into the Telegram chat of Blue Wallet, and then he exported that, and then he basically chatted with the data. So he spoke about preparing the data. The download history comes from in an HTML format, nice to read in a browser. He wrote a super short JavaScript that extracts the user text into raw text. So he did need to write something to extract it. Okay. Then he speaks about finding the right tool. First, he tried Google Cloud Document and then he mentions the one I mentioned here is Chat PDF. So here it is. He has the raw data file here, and then he basically feeds it in, and then he's highlighted any key things that people have mentioned. So you
Yeah.
can also do that too. Yeah, and then he's got a bulleted summary over here. Phoenix Wallet discussion summary, lack of official support, new splicing feature, migration issues. So for an open source team, this sort of pulls data together very quickly, and this is actually one of the projects for Summer of Bitcoin is going into all of these Lightning wallets and trying to understand the current landscape of Lightning wallets. What are users complaining about? What issues are they having? That kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah. Like I would like to know if this chat history is like for all time, or if it's for like if it's bounded by a time period, because this is where the change logs come in, right? Especially with something like Telegram, you'll get thousands and thousands of messages from the beginning of time when you do the export. And you're gonna feed it in. Some things are gonna come up like from years ago.
Yeah.
And again, you want to be professional. You want to have buy-in. You don't necessarily want to be like, well, hey, here's all the problems that you have, and they're like, well, we solved these problems with a new version like 2 years ago or something. So be careful. Be very careful about that. But also keep in mind that what we're showing you here, it's all public
Exactly.
information. So if you're doing this with a private client or with like a stealth project and going open source or whatever it is, just be careful. Ask for permission.
Something else I want to add in with asking for permission. let's say you have the intention of using ChatGPT to summarize your user interviews. It's quite important that you say to the user, to the person you're interviewing at the beginning, and ask them for permission. Is it okay if I upload this to ChatGPT? Because that is being uploaded into a cloud or a data source that is, we do not know how that information is being used.
Yep.
So if you're going to be uploading user interviews there, ask for permission from the person that you interview, and then
Yep.
you can upload it, of course. So yeah.
Yeah, there's also like for truly sensitive things, there's like private GPT that you could run locally, but that's maybe a whole other topic.
Discussion. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely be careful. For example, names and stuff like this. You might tell people like, hey, don't say your name and stuff. You never know how this is going to be used.
Yes.
For example, for sure, we know how it's going to be used. They're going to use the information for training data. It's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
We see it with the AI image generation. So you'll see like small watermarks distorted from different artists, or their signatures distorted. So this is some bit of information that ends up getting generated in some random person's output. So yeah, be careful with that.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, I mean, it was quite an intense session. I feel like we shared so much of information. Shashikant, do you have any questions or anything like that?
Not right now.
Not right now.
Okay, good. Yeah. Anything you want to add, John? Shall we wrap it up?
Nope, nothing else for now. I think this was a good first run. I got some insights. It was nice that you shared like some of those concepts. I learned a bit more about
Yeah.
like new data sources and tooling and stuff. I haven't checked out the chat PDF one. Seems cool. But yeah. Happy to continue doing this and to keep exploring it.
Same. I think that we're just at the beginning, but I feel like it could help a lot of open source teams, especially because from what I've seen, the wallet users are so easy and open with giving feedback. The data is, I use that title in one of my blog posts. Data is everywhere. It's literally everywhere.
Mhm.
We can do user interviews, and we will continue to do user interviews, but you can also just use what's already there as well and connect all of the information together.
Yeah, definitely during the discovery stage, analysis and stuff like that. It really speeds that up for you. But yeah, it's not going to take away your job. Your job might be taken away if you end up going into it and being like, "Oh, I'm only relying on ChatGPT," and then they're like, "Well, no, this is not correct what you're saying." So you still have to do a bit of your job, but it definitely acts as a design assistant for me, and that's how I'm seeing it. I have an assistant to help me with research and parsing data, and I'm going to tell it like, hey, this is wrong. Also, I have my own perspective of where I want the product to go as well. I've been building software for over 10 years, so I'm leaning on my own experience and my own intuition. So that's also quite important.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we can wrap it up. No need to keep it any longer. If you're watching this on YouTube or Bitcoin TV and you made it all the way to the end, well done. Kudos to you. This is, I realized that the topic, the way we framed it, we put AI and research in one line. Like, there's a very niche group of people who are attracted to that. So,
Yeah, not complicated at all, but hopefully it shed some
complicated.
light on the
No.
processes so you could get some insight.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording, otherwise I will forget.